Good day, everyone. Welcome to The Real Truth. I'm Tommy Spina. I'm happy to have as my guest my good friend and the mayor of the city of Birmingham, Mr. Randall Woodfin. Good morning, Randall.
Hey, Tommy. Glad to be here with you this morning. I'm not alone. I have Joy, who's 6 months with me. So if you hear any baby noises, I hope your audience can accept that.
They'll just have to. I think it's it's the reality of life. Uh, when I was thinking about this interview, I've been kind of focused on what's going on in politics on a state level, and I've visited with Doug Jones a good bit. And part of this interview today, I'd like to talk about the Democratic Party, but I don't really want to start out there. I'm more concerned about the Democratic Party and our state. But for starters, you're in your third term.
Correct.
And if you look back to your 2017 campaign, with you as a leader, if it's hard to sum up because so many things have happened, what has changed over these past 8 years that, from your perspective?
I think the fundamentals of municipal government boil down to public safety and public infrastructure. When you think about your use of how your local tax dollars are spent, those are the things that are non-negotiables. I think the best example of the public infrastructure is paving streets. We did a comparison of one, how much we put in street paving in the first two terms. I'm 6 months in, so those first 8 years we put in $114 million from the general fund. This is not borrowed money or gone to the bond market. This is out of the general fund yearly for a total of $114 million. We compare that to my three predecessors, William Bell, Larry Langford, and Bernard Kincaid. William Bell's 7 years, Larry Langford's 2 years in office, and Bernard Kincaid's 8 years in office. If my math correct, that's 17 years. Our $114 million in 8 years was more spent on investing in street paving in their combined 17 years.
Wow.
So that's significant, but it also tells you how behind we are and how much more we still have to go. And so, we still got to invest in our sidewalks, which we've been doing, which did another $2 million in sidewalk repair about 10 weeks ago. We've spent combined $25 million on blight removal and weed abatement on these empty lots around the city. So I would say the public infrastructure piece is so important. In the next phase of public infrastructure, we have to invest in our libraries and our parks and our recreation centers, and our fire stations and things of that nature. So extremely important with your public tax dollars. And then public safety. It's no secret. Crime, gun violence, homicides have been a problem in the city. But we finally cracked the code. And now it's about sustaining low numbers, investing in community, and making sure we can keep people safe. So
yeah,
if I had to add one third thing, it would be the advancements in academic achievement, third grade literacy, Birmingham Promise, the state report card. The score keeps going up every year. We're projected to be at a B in 2026. So
coming from
you
an
combine
F.
those things, yes. Literally going from an F to a D to now a 77.
Sounds about where I was in my academics. I was never on the top of the class, but
Me neither.
in my line of work, nobody's ever asked me what kind of grades I made.
Correct.
They just go help me. So when you speak of road, I of course have an office that is located just off Highland Avenue, and
Right.
I get approached by people that are in that specific neighborhood, which is one of 99, that don't feel that those road improvements are happening in their area. And I try to tell them, just wait, give it time. It's a
Yeah, I
priority
think.
thing.
Yeah,
So,
well, I'll give you one better. Unfortunately, I inherited two things. One, that I inherited a paving list that was unfunded. And two, when we looked at the paving list, it was scattered. It wasn't a methodical, intentionally designed process. It was a political / squeaky wheel process. We put in, separate from the 114 million, we put in a separate $500,000 to assess every street in the city. So what you got going forward, instead of politicizing street paving or squeaky wheel street paving, it's a package deal spread out in particular areas. And so, for example, in District 3, we'll come into Forest Park, but instead of paving one street, we'll do all the streets that connect in a certain area within Forest Park. Or you go over to District 1, we'll hit the Huffman neighborhood and do all the streets in the Huffman area. Or District 9, we'll go in Druid Hills. Instead of one street, we'll pave a significant amount of streets in Druid Hills. And District 4, significant amount of streets in Norwood. Instead of one street in Norwood, one street in Druid Hills, one street in Highland Park, et cetera, et cetera. So we got to take politics out of street paving and have an actual process that works for neighborhoods and residents.
and what you're saying is that is in place.
Yeah, it's the first time it's in place, like this year. The package will be public in a few weeks, actually, and we'll be able to share it with the citizens. They'll know where we're paving this year, but it's spread all over the city. But it'll touch, out of 99 neighborhoods, at least 9 of those neighborhoods will see a significant amount of paving. They won't just see one street in their neighborhood. They'll see a significant amount of their streets in their neighborhood.
So it's not a one city block at a time project. It's a long-term project for Birmingham.
Correct.
You've emphasized, of course, basic services you've just described in the Birmingham Promise, and we can talk about that later. But do you think Birmingham is outperforming peer southern cities? And if so, if we're lagging,
city infrastructure.
Yeah, if we're lagging in ways, what keeps you up at night, so to speak?
So I think we are holding our own in certain infrastructure investments, such as street paving. I think that we're definitely punching above our weight with peer cities related to violent crime and homicides, as it relates to our decrease, as well as our solve rate and making arrests clearance rate. That is well above any peer city. I would say that any other urban core with the size population we have and school system, I think we're punching above our weight as it relates to student achievement and moving the needle on academic performance. Those things, both in public safety as well as education, have made their way into national audiences and national. They've been chronicled from national publications. I think we punch above our weight in what we offer to attract people to our city, our trails, a foodie town, the investments we've made in sports and entertainment, from Legacy Arena to our amphitheater to Protective Stadium. I think those things are well above pure cities. Here's where we have to be honest and where we got to be more aggressive in competing. Economic development and job creation. I do not like where we are in that, but I do like what's behind the scenes, working with all the economic development organizations and leaders to make sure that we can have a shared vision and alignment to push us forward. Because bottom line, we have to create jobs for our residents who live here, as well as attract industry and attract people to work here.
Well, how do you balance attracting new investment with protecting longtime residents from displacement and
I think that's
cost?
twofold. I think in one hand, you make sure our current next and youngest generation are being educated so they can be gainfully employed. Two, we have to be honest and be creative in how we increase livable wages in Birmingham when the state of Alabama lags behind America, and then the state of Alabama doesn't allow local municipalities to unilaterally engage in the conversation of a livable wage. So for me, that's in partnership with our employers. The other piece is we got to make sure the pipeline is ready to receive our local and residents to become employees for our employers. So for me, it's the convening power I have of the education piece, and on the ups and the employers, and the workforce training piece, the reentry piece as it relates to residents coming back home, making sure they're not getting in the street. I mean, the best way to fight poverty is to educate our folk. And the other best way to fight poverty is to make sure people are gainfully employed. Livable wage in the state of Alabama in 2026 is $22 an hour. So creating programs in partnership with employers that says, from a workforce incentive standpoint, if you pay them $11 an hour, we'll match your 11. So it's being creative like that. I think the other end of making sure that displacement doesn't happen is, one is, can we be creative with the county and the state and say that if you live separate from your taxes being abated, if you're a certain age, the same thing should apply if you've lived in your neighborhood or your home for 20 plus years. So it's things like that we got to do.
Well, you made it a priority. In term two, I know probably thinking about it in term one, but you pushed, for example, the Birmingham promise,
Correct.
improving outcomes for children. What brought about the change in your thinking that pushed you to center on kids as much as you are, more explicitly even now?
Yeah, I think it's quite simple. I think part of the motivation is a new dad. I have my own family, so I understand just approaching educating my own children as a father and a family standpoint. But I think equally importantly, as mayor, as a former board member, education has always been a priority to me. And it's not to me, it's for our families. Everything we want to see in Birmingham: lower crime, more home ownership, decrease in poverty, increase in gainful employment, pride, some other intangibles, the city moving forward, all the things we want to see, everything you want to see in Birmingham is correlated and attached to our children being educated. And that's not debatable. It's not negotiable. So for me, it's the long play. Sometimes we get in these seats and we only think about the short, immediate return or gratification of a win. But the biggest win we can do for the city is make sure that any child born in this city, any child that lives in this city, any child that attends school in this city, whether it's early childhood, birth to 5, or K through 12, that we putting them on a path to a career so they can take care of themselves, so they can take care of their families, so they can be active citizen in the city in a positive way and make contributions in a positive way.
So
that's not political. That's just the right thing to do.
So if you're describing what sounds like what I would euphemistically refer to as cradle to career agenda.
Correct. Yes.
In one or two concrete goals you want residents to hold you accountable for, that would be it, what you just described.
Correct. And the one within that, we want every child to enter Birmingham City Schools at minimum grade level, kindergarten ready. So that's a significant amount of financial investments in early childhood, daycare, childcare, etc. The other piece, we want every child to graduate college ready and workforce ready. These things are not rocket science. So the next big play is to make sure that, beyond the white collar investments we've made with Birmingham Promise, can we create a space where our young people know that HVAC, plumbing, welding, mechanical, etc., are not only options, but these are really well paid careers where they just don't have to be an employee. They can have their own business as well.
Well, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about public safety. Obviously, we've had a bad couple of days here as we're taping this on June 14th, some of which is in the city of Birmingham. We've had a couple of homicides, but overall, I think you have paired traditional law enforcement and investment in gun violence prevention and where a lot of problems lie that people seem to overlook, mental health services. For the future, which includes 2026, what does the model look for public safety for Birmingham look like?
I think beyond the necessary investments in the men and women in blue and the police department, which will always be a priority investment. I think about 3 of the 4 last homicides. These were not between strangers. These were 2 people who knew each other, and their verbal altercation turned to a physical altercation that led to one or both of them pulling out guns. I mean, literally, Tommy, one of those homicides last week, 2 men shot each other. One died. The one that happened recently, 2 men knew each other. We see it. Like, we watch one of them calls the other out to just have a conversation. It escalates, and then one pulls out a gun. I think the conflict resolution investments we made over the last few years, that's why we make that investment. We have to remind our next and younger generation conflict will always be with us. But you don't have to pull out a gun every time. Because in these scenarios, we made arrests in all of them, with the exception of one, and we plan to make an arrest in that one as well, of the last 3 out of 4. But if you keep going, these aren't places where you expect police to be. And I'll go one more. These are places where the police will not be. People got to handle and manage their conflict in a different way, which is why just in the last 3 years, we put in $3 million in conflict resolution. We put in a separate $3 million in mental health. We put in separate millions of dollars into violence prevention and street teams on the ground. And so we're trying to strike the balance of prevention, re-entry, but as well as continue to make the necessary investments in enforcement with our men and women in blue.
Well, obviously, we've had record drops in homicides, and you've just described investments in what I would call violence interruption work. And the things you've described, you believe, and I think the proof is in the pudding, actually move the needle on violence in a southern city like Birmingham.
Yeah. I mean, look, I want to give a shout out to Chief Michael Pickett, Deputy Chief Public Safety Carlton Peoples, all the men and women in blue, men and women in blue. They're doing a great job of presence in communities. I've had several town hall meetings, intimate town hall meetings lately with neighborhood officers per district. And an hour and 30 minutes into the meeting, no one brings up public safety or policing as an issue. So I'll ask the question at the end. Hey, y'all good? Y'all feel safer? And then I ask this question, are y'all seeing the police? And everybody's saying yes. So we beefed up our police presence, our staffing. We're solving homicides. The men and women in blue are doing what they're supposed to do. We need community members to do their part too, because the police can't be everywhere. They're not going to be at your house. They're not going to be at your barbershop. They're not going to be in your personal conflict or whoever you have it with. So if community members just do their part too, we'll keep making Birmingham safer.
Um, well, it seems like whatever you're doing is working based on the statistics through the first 5 months, first 6 months almost.
Yeah, I mean, and look, we know summer spike
Heat.
is a real thing in the nation.
Yes, it's hot. It's hot
summer,
out there.
Yeah, I mean, I mean this. You know what summer does in temperature and like conflict.
I agree.
Is what rain does in certain parts of the country related to suicides. And a lot of those suicides are by guns as well. So what we want to do is make sure we can interrupt violence as much as possible. We think we're doing it.
Let's talk a little bit about economic development and opportunity. When you go out to pitch Birmingham, and of course I am involved in this to a limited degree, what's the story you tell today that you couldn't tell when you first got in that chair?
Birmingham, Alabama should be the logistics hub of the entire Southeast. I really, really mean that, Tommy. We're not only centrally located in the state, but we're centrally located in the Southeast. By rail, by car, by all modes of transport. We have an inland port. We have an amazing airport. We have 4 interstates, and we have 3 major rail lines. So when you talk about commerce, interstate commerce, when you talk about goods and services moving through our country, that should be attractive for everyone when you have all 4 of those things in one space, which no other southern city, I don't think, can say. They may have 1, they may have 2 of those, they may have 3, but they don't have all 4. An inland port, 4 major interstates, 3 major rail lines.
Birmingham Port?
Yes.
That is in the city limits of Birmingham. And I used to live out there, and I rarely go out there. There was always this rumor that there was a ghost on the lake out there, and it scared me.
Yeah, but that connectivity gives us the opportunity to reimagine well more than 2,000 plus acres of brownfield to put thousands of jobs back into the city. I think the other sale I have is very simple. We now have the Tech Hub designation for biotechnology, and where personalized medicine is going in the world and in America, with UAB standing in Southern research, we have the opportunity to really be a beacon for the world as it relates to not just medical research, but the spin out of that medical research, turning it into actual medicine that can go into not thousands, hundreds of thousands of homes to save lives. That's can be a significant amount of job creation in the city. And then I tell everybody else, when you have Hyundai, when you have Honda, when you have Mercedes in your state, all the second tier suppliers, all the other suppliers should be right here within our city. Because as I said, from a logistics standpoint, you can get to all of those places. So those are just 3 examples of how I pitch and sell Birmingham.
Well, you've landed a number of federal grants, I do believe, and we have some relatively large housing and revitalization investments that are ongoing to make housing affordable in neighborhoods where it may not have been affordable before. I'm thinking of Smithfield. It's just one example comes to my mind. How do you make sure those dollars translate into shared prosperity rather than just isolated projects?
Oh, that's great. So the way we approach the $50 million Choice Neighborhood Grant Investment for the 3 neighborhoods, the historic neighborhoods of College Hill, Smithfield, and Graymont, which 2 of them have always been historically Black, because they were literally on that borderline of Center Street. We know College Hills has changed over time. That is now majority Black. But the way you make that work and leverage that $50 million is a public-private partnership. All of a sudden, that's 200 plus million. So what you got is not only 1,100 new rooftops, but for the existing homeowners, our critical repair program for our seniors, the ability to attract families, the investments in Parker High School and all the feeder schools, attracting families, working with the housing authority, working with private developers, et cetera. You make sure you're not just attracting new homeowners, but the existing residents who stay there. You want them to stay. And I've knocked on doors in all three of those neighborhoods. Those are beautiful people, some single, many not, beautiful families, some young, many not, a lot of seniors and elders. And we got to take care of everybody who lives in all three of those neighborhoods.
We talk about UAB and what a tremendous asset it is for our city, but we do have a lot of small businesses here that we don't want to overlook, and we don't overlook, I don't believe. But in your economic vision, what role do those small businesses and entrepreneurs play in your economic vision for the city?
So we recently just celebrated Small Business Week. And what I spoke to was something very important. Small businesses are not only the tip of the spear and sword. They are a significant part of that sword in this city. No city who wants to thrive can exclude its support of small businesses. Birmingham, Alabama is very, very fortunate. While we have many macro, if you would, big employers from Regions Bank to Alabama Power to UAB, we have significant amount of small business that can employ anywhere from 0 to 50 or 50 to 100 or 100 to 200. And we got to take care of those businesses. And what that looks like is the city of Birmingham in partnership supports our small business owners. We support our entrepreneurs. We support our risk takers. And we got to keep doing that. So, economic development centers can't just be about attracting business. You got to also, city government has to partner with existing businesses to make sure they can scale up and grow. And so they're not just part of the vision. They are a main ingredient of the vision to drive Birmingham's growth. And small businesses are the reason why Birmingham is thriving the way it is. George sleep now, by the way.
Do what? Joyce is asleep?
Yeah, the baby's asleep, by the way.
Well, she's been very cooperative. She has given us no background noise. It would be more background noise over here if I still had my dogs, but I don't. So, kind of shift gears again away from the city and talk about the Democratic Party in the South. You up for that? There's a thing that I refer to as the Woodfin brand of Democrat. I feel looked upon nationally as progressive and part of the future of the Democratic Party in the South, particularly. When you hear that, what do you think they're seeing in your own words?
Related to me or city of Birmingham?
Related to you individually and other southern cities.
I think this. Look, I'm a very pragmatic human being. My position as mayor is nonpartisan. So one of the beauties of my job is I wake up and go to bed every single day, and I don't have to worry about Democrat, Republican politics. Like the pothole, the street, the public safety, the educating our children, none of that's partisan. It's solve the problem, get it done. And I think hopefully what I am showing to anybody, Democrats, Republicans, independents, everyday Americans, it doesn't matter if they're in urban, suburban, rural America, is that you want your leader to lead and govern and solve problems, not just talk about the problem or point fingers at the other party. All that sucks. I have read, and I'm still reading the analysis that was done on the Democratic Party. It was over 100, I think it's over 100 something pages. And what we find is a Democratic Party, Republican Party, people lost trust in both parties because both parties aren't delivering when they actually get into positions to govern. I am like the average citizen in America. The people I put in office, my expectations are very simple. Use my tax dollars in a way that benefits me. Use my tax dollars in a way that benefits my community. That's it. And, I think what can be attractive if people want to grow the tent or want to win, and I think a lot of this is about winning now, is like, don't take things from people and help solve problems. So, yeah, I am a nonpartisan mayor that is a Democrat. That's not a secret to anybody. And within that, I want to get beyond the problems of the party. I want the party to organize. I want them to be better communicators. I actually want them to win. And then when they win, I want them to be bold enough to govern to help everyday people. Working class people, in my opinion, whether they live in urban America or rural America, urban Alabama or rural Alabama, are being pimped by the other party. The other party sets it up in such a way where they point the finger and make everybody else the bad guy, the enemy, and they not only campaign, but they govern in fear. And all the while, they're taking your tax dollars and giving it to rich people, and poor people are becoming poor. And it's blatant to me, it's in your face. And so if I'm the Democrats and I'm in the leadership of Democrats, I'm taking advantage of being honest, telling the truth, organizing working class Americans, middle class Americans as well, poor Americans as well, and saying this is what we're going to do for farmers, for the men and women on the line, for our educators to be paid more, and everybody else. But somehow the infighting got to stop. Democrats are busy fighting each other or fighting Republicans. Why don't you just get busy fighting for everyday Americans?
Well, when you look at the Alabama Democratic Party, it's even fighting with itself. And so when you juxtapose that against the National Democratic Party, where do you see the biggest gap between rhetoric and reality?
Leadership is one. Two, the inability to organize. Three, the inability to communicate. And four, the inability to fundraise. And those things aren't 1, 2, 3, 4. They're all tied for first place. What I do like is Stacey Abrams next door in the state of Georgia. It wasn't the fact that she ran for governor twice. It was what allowed her to run for governor twice and get so close. If I'm correct, they got at least 160 plus counties. We only got 67, but somehow they organize all 60. They organize every county in the state of Georgia. We're not even organized in Jefferson County. And what it feels like in the state of Alabama party politics, and I'm not on the inside, people think I am, but I am not involved in the Democratic Party for the state of Alabama. The reason is because I'm busy governing. And if you're going to ask me to wade into politics, I actually like to play team. I like to problem solve. I like to organize. And if people don't have any interest in that, then I'm not going to be involved. So I'm not picking on anybody. I'm not calling out anybody. I'm not stepping on anybody. But like, clearly there's an indication here that people don't want to move forward. And it seems like there's more interest in power than it is in winning, which kind of baffles me a little bit.
Well, you're doing, in my opinion, a great job, and nobody listening to this show has any doubt that I'm a fan of the Woodfin brand, as I've called it. And I don't mean that to be dismissive of who you are and what you are, because I believe when you speak from the heart, and you are exceptionally sincere and thoughtful in expressing your feelings. And you're not afraid to say something that might hurt somebody's feelings. Uh, so, with that in mind, if you were asked to give a 25-year-old, which is a demographic that can make a difference, and not old people like me, what advice would you give that person who's progressive, politically engaged, but a little bit skeptical that politics will ever find its way to them? I'm trying to encourage people to get out and vote.
Yeah, well, it's. I get it. People don't trust government. People are fickle on government. People feel like it's set up. People feel it doesn't benefit them. People feel it only takes. I want them to know that's going to keep happening, not just a feeling of that, but those things will be the reality if you don't vote. There's this notion of why vote? Nothing's going to change. And I'm like, if you don't, you're right. If you don't, you're right. I think what we have at a basic level is the lack of participation. People are dependent on people are dependent on people are dependent on folks being disengaged or or just checked out.
I think
Like
they
they're depending on that.
I think they even campaign sometimes with that in mind.
Do you think? Let's be very clear about Elon Musk, now trillionaire, $300 million investment into Donald Trump's campaign. We got to be very, very clear. That wasn't just for him to win and get the tax breaks he wanted. It was what they did. It wasn't just the changing of the use of X and formerly known as Twitter. A lot of that money was about suppressing people, right? My guy is unpopular, but I want him to win. And I know the other person usually has more people that vote for them or the other party. So what I got to do is spend a significant amount of this money just suppressing the other group from coming out. So it's not just motive.
That's true.
All the money spent from that last presidential election, a lot of that was about suppressing votes in the form of motivating people not to come out. That's a fact.
Which is the exact opposite of what we need.
Yeah.
If you want everyone's voice to be heard, and people say, well, it doesn't matter, so I just won't vote.
Yeah, and people are going to say this is going to be their retort. Well, this election had more voters than ever in the history. Yeah, but which group of voters, right? So one side was motivated, the other side was not motivated. But the lack of motivation was for several reasons. It was one side's own internal politics and way of organizing. It was the other side spent a significant amount of money to suppress people from being motivated. You can just all people got to do is read. I'm not making things up. This is not opinion. This is actually factually based on the assessments and tracking money, how the money was spent, and what happened.
Well, that's why I call this show The Real Truth. So, looking ahead, if someone says Birmingham in 2035, I know you won't be around, at least Birmingham, and I know you want to move forward with your career and your long-term vision, but what do you hope that picture would be that's different from today?
Yeah. Well, I don't plan to be the mayor in 2035. I'll be
No,
around.
I know that.
I'll still be Birmingham's #1 cheerleader. I hope what in 2035 we can say is that Birmingham's a choice city, that you can be gainfully employed here, your child be educated here, you're safe here. You have a nice home here. Your property value continues to go up. It's a beautiful place. It's the best it's the best urban core in America to hike in, to take trails in, walking, biking. Best city to eat in. We have the best story to tell, not just our past related to our civil rights journey, but our future as it relates to social justice in America and around the globe.
And what do you hope they say that contributed the most to the change about this city when they look back?
That's easy. That at some point people saw that municipal government wasn't some magic wand on an island that can solve everybody's problem. That although the elected officials were the stewards of our tax dollars, the moving the city forward was about ownership, and all the residents, or the majority of residents, participated in moving Birmingham forward.
In getting close to closing here with this podcast episode, Randall, no disrespect intended to Mr. Mayor.
You're my friend. You can call me Randall. It's fine.
I plan to, and I'm not going. It doesn't change. It doesn't change our relationship. But do you have aspirations beyond being still in politics, but beyond the office of the mayor? And I'm thinking personally on a national level more so than on a statewide level.
I don't know, Tommy. I think
you're trying to just live one moment at a time.
Yeah, I'm 6 months into a third term. But this show is about the truth. So here's the deal. Here's the honest truth. I don't wake up every day thinking about what's my political future. Because if I was never an elected official again, my conscience would be very clear, and I can live with that. I've been in public service right out of undergrad, so I'm clocking it right now at 23 years. When we get to November 2029, it'll be 12 years as mayor, 4 years as a school board member, a long time as a lawyer, including 8 years as a city attorney. I think I've done my public service. As a new father, I think part of my answers why I don't have straight answers for you is that I don't look at life the same anymore. And it's not about, I'll be 48 when this term is over. I'm at a point where, and I've always been at this point, I feel like life, you have to balance ambition with purpose. I've always felt I've lived my life with purpose. But that purpose has become crystal clear in the last almost 2 years. August 1st, love will be 2. Now that joy is 6 months. I think more about, like, what am I going to do to take care of my family than I do thinking about what's my next move being an elected official.
Well, when the time as mayor is over, what do you hope most that people would say you changed about Birmingham?
Education.
Yeah. Well, you have.
Education, Tommy. I think people leave a city for one of 3 reasons: school system, crime, job opportunity. And the only through line in that I found that's consistent is if you educate people, then you attract jobs, you attract the workforce, you keep people, and the city is safer. And that's not rocket science, Tom.
Yeah. Well,
it's really not.
Besides your own book and this podcast, is there a piece of music or a book or a podcast that's been feeding you lately as a leader And why?
I'm gonna always defer to Malcolm Gladwell. I reread his
man.
books. I reread all of his books and his articles over and over.
Blink?
Because
Have you read Blink?
Tipping Point, What the Dog Saw, Outliers, so many more articles and everything.
I love Blink.
Yeah, he gets it, man, and he like motivates my brain, gets me to thinking, and this intersection of science, math, history, government, he just makes it all work.
That's fascinating. I hope people will pick up on that. Thank you so much for being with me this morning.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, Love, for being quiet and not fussy.
Joy. Yeah.
Or is it Joy?
Joy is sleep. Yeah. Love will be 2 years old August 1st. Joy will be 1 December 2nd. So I'm holding Joy now this entire time we've been on this podcast. She's been chill and then she fell asleep. She's still asleep right now.
Well, that doesn't speak very highly of our interest level, I guess, for her. This is the real truth. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
We'll talk soon.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining me today on The Real Truth. My name is Tommy Spina. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. I hope you will follow or subscribe to my podcast and listen in to the next episode. If you found it valuable, please take a moment to rate it and review it. It helps us to reach more listeners that care about the issues that matter. Share it with a friend. Stay engaged and remember, the truth matters. I'll see you next time.